Can you believe that we are almost done with this season? I sure can't, and I'm truly feeling like a mixed bag of feelings as we wrap up this season of Ink Master. And this episode made it so much worse. Episode 8 was titled Let the Sparks Fly, and boy did they. But for the most part, nobody really changed placements this episode, except for one person who jumped up dramatically. I'm going to break that all down when we get to the scoreboard section. But before we do that, we're going to break down the episode. But before we do that, I just want to say, again, I can't thank you all enough for commenting and engaging and subscribing and doing all of this awesome stuff you guys are doing. It blows me away. And to my latest subscribers, Mike Scott, Robin Guardino, and the Doggy Llama. Fantastic name, by the way. Thank you for subscribing. And if I butchered any of your names, which I do tend to do sometimes, I'm so sorry. Feel free to correct me and I'll fix it in the next video. But you guys are fantastic. I appreciate you guys more than you'll ever know. I am just beyond mind blown that you guys watch me speak about this every week. But honestly, it's truly the best part of my week. You guys rock. Thank you so much. So again, we're going to talk about how things shifted in the scoreboard for this episode. But before we do that, let's remember how we got there. So last week, the judges stabbed everybody in the heart by eliminating Katie, and everyone is feeling it. And Jason literally becomes my voice in this episode, stating that the positivity is gone from the competition because it has left with Katie, and I could not agree more. She's the light, she's a joy. A lot of people really thought Tony should have gone home, and I can't be mad at that. But Katie was in the bottom a lot. Her tattoo, compared to the others, not great. I can't say it's unjustified, but it definitely hurt. Then we move on to the Flash Challenge. They get told that this week is Precision Week, or as Angel says at one point in this episode, precision. And to test precision, Flash Challenge style, we're making sculptures out of steel, which sounds completely insane because wildly different than tattooing and requires like heavy machinery and power tools. So there's that. DJ also gets to just assign the skulls because he got Tattoo of the Day, which seems pretty random, but it's fine, we're doing it. And everyone is split into two teams, which are the following. Team 1 is Tony, DJ, Bob, and Anthony, aka the Ink Masters and Bob. Team 2 is Angel, Gian, and Jason. And I've got to say, this decision really said a lot to me as someone who really overanalyzes this show. To me, it was clear that DJ's not stupid. He has purposefully drawn the line between him and Gian, even though Gian was in love with DJ. His biggest fan, if you will. But I feel like DJ crunches the numbers on everybody's playing statistics just like I do, because he seems to know that despite the fact that he hasn't really been in the top the last few weeks, Gian is still the clear frontrunner in the competition. And he's making it known that he is going for him. And that's the person he needs to be able to target, especially with skull picks. Which is really smart because we are also told that this is our last Flash Challenge of the entire competition. It may be his last chance to do this. So getting right to it, Team 1 does a robot who they name Digits. And it's awesome. It's moving, it looks like a robot, it's got all these cool little details on it. Tony, I think, helped them out a lot. He personally welds a lot, so this was right up his alley, and it worked out great. Team 2 did the Tree of Life, which they said then kind of turned into the Tree of Death, which was Gian's idea. What is this? This looked like a hot mess. They knew it was a hot mess. Gian didn't even try to say it was not a hot mess. Anyway, so clearly Team DJ wins. Duh. Like, nobody debates that. Nobody's worried about it. So Team DJ gets skull picks for the elimination tattoo. And before we get there, the Masters and Bob discuss who they want to shoot at. And they have a big discussion about, obviously, Gian, but they also mention Angel. I did appreciate, though, that Anthony was empathetic toward Bob. He knows Bob and Angel are close, and he really wanted to probe that a little bit. Bob tells the Masters, don't worry about it. I'm here for me. I gotta do what I gotta do, which is partially true, but he also then immediately goes to tell the others, which I actually found to be very loyal. And he tells them, but Jason seems to be upset or worried somehow, but what is Bob supposed to do? Bob is just Bob among the Ink Masters. He's just Bob, which then brings us to the elimination tattoo. And they get told that the elimination tattoo is color realism portraits, which is Nico Hurtado's specialty. I've shared before that Nico Hurtado's shop is actually in my neck of the woods. I've driven past it several times. I'm very familiar with Nico's work. I follow him on social media as well. His portraits are mind-blowing. I can't think of a single portrait I would ever put on my body because I'm so worried that whoever I choose to do it will somehow mess it up. But Nico Hurtado, who I'm sure, especially now after this show, I can no longer afford, his stuff is just incredible, like just mind-blowingly good. Then Dave shows up as the Master of Chaos. And initially, I thought this was going to mean we were getting another guest judge. I'm so glad that's not what it was. But he tells them that the twist this week is that the contestants have to make up a jury of peers to decide who's up for elimination, which they've done in the past, and I've honestly kind of missed it. It's basically a perfect recipe for shady business to ensue. So then Team DJ begins to assign canvases. I'm not really going to go over the canvases. For the most part, they were all hard, and it's everybody's like kid, grandma, dad. It's somebody, you know, portraits are portraits. But Bob tries to negotiate a little bit. He tries to really come up with some sort of precise plan and on who to take out. He kind of reopens the conversation. Anthony gets a little frustrated. They want Gian to go down. But again, all of the canvases are hard. So except for one, which was kind of obviously the hardest, everything else was kind of like an even spread, with Gian getting the one that was clearly the hardest one. And I was surprised on how effective this strategy was, but we'll talk about that in a second. Everybody's worried about this challenge, but Tony, man, really freaking out again. And at this point, I really thought to myself, like, I'm so tired of watching him struggle in this competition. Tony's an ink master. They're all great. I'm not a tattoo artist at all, so no, I couldn't do anything any of the contestants are doing, so I don't mean that super negatively, but this also brings up the conversation as to what the point of bringing the Ink Masters back was for. It was supposed to be so they're the best of the best are challenging the returning contestants and all of this stuff. Aside from DJ, all of the Ink Masters have been shooting themselves in the foot, really displaying kind of what their weaknesses are, which I think is really odd. And Tony is really having a hard time this go around. I did like, though, that DJ and Anthony were willing to help him out and help him put together a stencil, at least. On the flip side, nobody seems to have sympathy for Gian, and I can't help but wonder if maybe that's because of how he's been acting the entire competition. So Gian decides to help himself make a stencil by changing somehow what this lady looks like a little bit, and talks his canvas into basically trying to tattoo airbrush his grandma. I was so confused. And we can talk about that in the critiques. So let's just go there. First up was Bob. And I thought this was a really strong tattoo. He got fairly safe critiques, but I thought this was a pretty great job. I loved it. I actually expected him to place fairly high. Spoiler alert, nobody really placed high except for one person this episode. But I thought this deserved to at least get some more mentions. Angel. Whoa. It looks a lot like her, which again is precision, which was the point of the challenge. And so I don't even think it looks bad, and it might be how it's healing and all of that stuff. But I was taken aback a little bit. I was like, oh wow. Next was DJ's, which was Chef's Kiss. Perfect. I loved this tattoo. I'm starting to think that if I needed a portrait done, I could maybe go to Nico Hurtado or maybe DJ. It's awesome, and he got amazing critiques for it, which I think were deserved. We're going to talk a lot about DJ in the scoreboard section. Gian, big oof. No, sir. This was wild. I really want to know where this human canvas is and maybe process the trauma out with him, because this was a major swing and a miss. This was a hard challenge to sabotage anyone specifically, but they found a way to do it to Gian, and it was effective. DJ's plan, which again, I think he's been formulating for some time, especially in this particular episode, really worked out. And again, we're going to talk about that in a second. Anthony, almost there. I didn't hate it, and I don't think it's bad by any means. I think it's mind-blowing that he's colorblind. I feel like he's mentioned that in previous seasons, and I always forget that. But I thought this wasn't bad. I thought this deserved maybe some better critiques here and there, but I also get some of the feedback he got. But I thought this was really decent. Tony's, I didn't think it was bad, especially for the first real go-around he's done one of these tattoos on. I agree, it doesn't look finished, and there's some issues with it when you really compare that with the photo, but it wasn't bad, especially not compared to Gian's. Jason's was sort of good, not the worst, not god-awful, but also not good. I don't know. Jason's really lost his consistency, and I think this was not the time to do that. So people who placed high were, in fact, DJ. End of list. Everyone else got fairly safe critiques or really low critiques, and they don't even discuss anyone's but DJ. So tattoo of the day goes to DJ. And again, I think that's deserved. So as such, DJ gets to lead the jury of peers, which when they all formulate and they're all feeling so defeated and low about themselves, there's not much of a fight. It's a lot of, hey, you didn't really do this and this and this in the portrait. And they're like, yeah, that's fair. It was the most respectful and humble and honest jury of peers I think I've ever seen in this competition. So they all vote, and we find out that the bottom three are in fact Gian, Tony, and Jason. The judges immediately say that Jason's is off the table, and I agree. Not that maybe he wasn't in the bottom, but again, everybody did fairly low, and then Jason's kind of a bit lower than everybody else, and then there's Gian and Tony, right? So I kind of agreed that while maybe he should be in the bottom, he definitely shouldn't be the one out of the two eliminated, right? So the bottom two really end up being Gian and Tony. And I agree. Where things get fascinating for me is the judges pretty much all vote for Tony to be eliminated. And I don't know how to feel about that. Because on one hand, again, Tony's had a rough time in this competition for some reason. But on the other hand, there's the two tattoos this day that we're looking at to decide this off of. And between the two, I would wear Tony's over Gian's. And in terms of capturing my loved ones, I'd be way more happy with Tony's. And I feel like the critiques initially matched that. But then they're voting for someone to go home, and suddenly the judges have a problem because the front runner and the one they've been handing flash challenges to and all of this other stuff is suddenly potentially going home. What do you do? So then all of a sudden, they start rationalizing why Gion's tattoo is somehow better than Tony's. And they talk about how everything in Gion's tattoo is wrong, but there's more life in the eyes, or whatever they said, which to me felt a little rigorous. Do I think either one could go home? Sure. Do I think it should have been Tony? If I'm looking at track record, yeah. If I'm looking at the tattoos that I'm supposed to be judging in front of me, no. So part of me kind of thinks that even though Gian was doing so well, he probably should have gone home. So I don't know. This was wild. And I don't know. I'm still processing this out. I'm going to talk about the scoreboard and what to expect from next week's mind-blowing semifinals episode. Before we get into all of that, let's see how people reacted. It's time for top tweets. All right, so getting into the scoreboard. This is how the numbers shake out based on my point system. And already you're going to notice some interesting developments because, again, here's how things looked last time we looked at the scoreboard. And now here's where we're at after this week's hot mess of a portrait episode. So you'll notice, again, nobody really changed placements except DJ, who now, with another tattoo of the day and a consistent performance since he arrived back in this competition, has finally tied with Gian for the top spot. Everybody else is pretty much exactly where we left them last time, with Tony now officially coming in 7th place after his elimination this episode. DJ's playing a really strong game. Again, out of all the Ink Masters who have been brought back, I mean, Steve went home immediately. Anthony and Tony were in the bottom with him. Anthony's been struggling a little bit, and Tony's been consistently in the bottom and is now eliminated. DJ's the only one that came out swinging right from the get-go, returning midway in this season, and has really been using his time wisely to make sure he's a frontrunner. And now here he is at the perfect time. And I think he has a strong chance of being in the finale again, and maybe even a chance at taking the title a third time. And after seeing this track record, because I agree, him even competing again, kind of annoying, but with the track record and the stuff he's producing, it's hard to argue with it. If they handed it to him a third time, I would be like, yeah, he did really great stuff. Should he be given it again? And should he have returned at all? Should any of them have been brought back to compete again? Again, larger conversation sprinkled throughout my videos. It's a big debate. I still think there's a high possibility Gian is the next Ink Master, especially with some of the passes I think he's getting. But DJ's really making it difficult for him. And DJ, aside from being what I think is honestly a true Ink Master, it's clear that DJ can pretty much do it all. Where even among the other Ink Masters, a lot of the other Ink Masters can do most, but DJ truly does it all. And I really respect that about him. I mean, at this point, make DJ a judge, to be honest. And the next episode being the semifinals, remember, I've been saying we have too many people left on the board, so I'm expecting a double elimination. And they told us in the promo that the semifinals is going to be just that. They're going to compete in 2 different tattoo challenges, which I'm 100% expecting to result in 2 eliminations to determine the final 4. Real quick though, we are wrapping up Ink Master. So then what does that mean for this that we've developed? A couple things. One, I want to do a bonus episode. I'm hoping to get it out before the finale. It may come after the finale, but someone requested that I cover the No More Ink interviews that they do after they get eliminated. And so somebody asked that I cover those and I give kind of my opinions on them and see what other information we learn from them. So I am going to go through them all. I'm going to take some notes on them and do a little video, a little breakdown on all of those, which I think would be kind of fun to dive into. I'm hoping, my initial plan was to do it before the finale. I don't know that I'll get to that. It may come after the finale. Also, I'm going to try and keep updated as, you know, new news of a renewal for another season comes out. Any updates that come in, I'll try and do mini shop talk videos to kind of talk about that with you guys. And then, of course, Ink Master 15. We're right back to this, which I love. I also do other content, so I typically do I do some modern trailers, I try and do some reviews, I do reactions, I do all kinds of random stuff on some of my other shows. I have what's called Planet Grady, which is like my main show where I review and talk about different things. I haven't done those in a while. I'm just now kind of starting to get back into that. I shared with you all I'm moving and all of that stuff. So I'm in the process of getting back into the swing of things and setting up a new recording space. And I just finished grad school and all of these things. So now I'm getting more time and adjusting to bigger and better places and things like that that will allow me to focus more on my channel. And I'll prove it to you if you want to take a look right here. I got boxes and things everywhere. If you could see behind the camera, it's all over the wall. A lot of stuff going on. I also review some other shows on here. They may not be your cup of tea, which is totally fine, but they are there for you if you want to stick around and watch those. And I'll even make you a deal. Is there another show you would like me to review and break down? Let me know and I'll probably consider that. But for the most part, my channel has always been designed to be kind of a mixed bag of things that I'm into. It's kind of like my world, right? So Shop Talk is a great part of that, but it is a part of it. There's plenty of other things to enjoy if you would like to, or you can always just wait for the Shop Talk videos. That's totally fine too. Either way, I hope you stick around. But like I said, more Shop Talk is coming. If you have something else you would like me to review and break down, any suggestions, any feedback, whatever you guys like, let me know and I'll see what I can do. But that's where we landed as we go into the semifinals. So let me know who you think is next. Who do you think is going to the finale? And who do you think is the next ink master? Let me know down below, and also subscribe today so you don't miss out. And of course, in the meantime, if you like, maybe get inked, maybe watch more of my videos. You can always do that. And I'll see you next time for some more shop talk.